Chapter 4. Slaughter.
Please, no!
Blood sprays from the torn limb of one of the dojo lieutenants. The man falls to the ground, completely helpless. His 3 companions watch the scene unfold in horror. Standing over their fallen comrade is a massive orc with a sinister smile.
You should run.
The orc says with a deep and haunting voice.
What is he?
One of the remaining men shouts in terror.
He didn't even move. Why didn't he fight back?
Another man says with a dumbfounded expression. The orc places his left foot onto the skull of their companion. Taking a step forward, he crushes his head. An eye pops out and rolls away as the insides of the man's head pour out. With a look of satisfaction, the orc walks toward the remaining men.
Get back!
One of the shorter men shouts. He jumps in front of his friends and raises a flat hand toward the orc.
Igneous Meteorium!
As soon as the man finishes his incantation, a spark erupts from his palm and quickly turns into a ball of fire. Like cannon fire, the ball launches itself with lightning speed toward the orc. An explosion erupts and encases the alleyway with fire and smoke. Luckily for me, these buildings are stone. I had followed the orc from the tavern earlier. He's a man flooded with mystery. Between planting packages in alleyways and sliding envelopes under a few front doors, I'm not sure what to make of him. With the fire beginning to die down, I lean over the ledge and continue watching.
You got him!
One of the men shouts to his friend.
Tch.
Weak. Let's head back to the cave. Mason will want to hear about this. Before anyone has a chance to react, the orc emerges from the smoke, charging toward them with the tower shield. Slamming his shield into the fire warlock, he lifts him off the ground and launches him into the wall. Following through with another strike, the orc swings his sword down into a different man. His sword cracks into the man's skull with fury. Blood erupts upward, and red rain begins to fall. The last man standing takes a step back as he prepares to run, and then he freezes.
What is this? I can't move!
The man shouts in terror. The orc lets out a slight laugh as he watches the frozen man squirm.
I'll be right with you.
The beast of a man turns his attention to the unconscious fire warlock and returns his shield to his back. Stepping next to him, he grabs onto the man's face and lifts him up with one hand.
It's no fun like this.
Slowly, and with pleasure on his face, he drives his sword into the man's left thigh. The fire warlock's eyes shoot open from the pain. His hands shoot up and wrap around the orc's wrist, attempting to remove his grasp. The orc's face immediately shifts from a grin to displeasure.
What? You can't cast without words?
Tears begin to form around the man's eyes as the reality of his death comes to light.
Weak.
Removing the sword from his thigh, the orc rams it into the man's heart and impales him into the wall. Releasing his hold, the warlock gasps for air. Blood spurts from his mouth, and with each cough, it soon turns into a stream. He touches the sword while struggling to breathe, and then weakly raises his hand. His fingers gently rest onto the side of the orc's cheek. He tries to speak, but it's too late. Within a few seconds, all strength fades. His hands fall limp, as his eyes grow dim and his soul moves on. Satisfied, the orc turns his head to his final victim.
Why? Why are you doing this?
The lieutenant shouts.
Is it drugs? The money? You could have it all!
The orc licks the blood from his lips and spits on the ground while approaching.
You don't understand. I could care less about any of that.
What is it then?
The man replies with wide eyes. Stopping within several feet, the orc reveals his stained and sharpened teeth with a wide smile.
I want to see it burn.
See what burn?
The man replies.
All of it.
The orc takes another step closer. The lieutenant's jaw drops, and his eyes frantically move left to right, searching for answers.
You see, what is it that you believe holds an empire together?
The man looks down for a moment as he contemplates the question, and then looks up.
Most would say the king, or maybe the army. I'd say the answer lies somewhere between the people and the royalty.
Wrong!
With a backhand to the face, the man falls to the ground limp. Kneeling over him, the orc turns the man's head toward him.
It's people like you.
People like me?
The man replies. The orc pulls out his hand axe and lightly caresses the bald man's cheek.
Yes, people like you. You see, kingdoms like this seem so calm and peaceful. They seem just and prosperous. Many give credit to the king or the military, but the true credit goes to the underworld. It's because of people like you that kings can sleep peacefully at night.
The young man's face grows in confusion.
You still don't get it, do you? Each kingdom's underworld runs on money. No kingdom, no money. This makes people like you a threat to people like me.
But...
The man's response is cut off by the swift cleave of an axe. His head rolls from his body and into the street. Cleaning his axe on the dead man's clothes, he then proceeds to pull his sword out from the man impaled on the wall. The body collapses, and his blood spills over the cobblestone. The orc quickly goes on high alert and searches for the source of the clapping. That was quite impressive, I say from the shadows. Struggling to locate me, the orc raises both his hand axe and sword in defense. I'm wearing my guild outfit again, and it's great for concealment. Whenever I wear this, the shadows encase me, almost like a silk cover. So, what's your name? I calmly ask. The orc doesn't reply immediately. He continues to search the shadows and eventually concedes.
Goldor Slaughter.
He replies. I quickly change my position, concealing myself in a different shadow. Slaughter? You're from Hex, aren't you? Goldor searches with his eyes again, recognizing that I changed my location. I can see a slight concern through his composure. He's clearly a skilled warrior. He purposely left his tower shield on his back. Not being able to see his opponent, he was intentional about leaving himself most vulnerable in the front. He's confident and dangerous. Recognizing his refusal to answer, I continue the conversation. You're a long way from home, Goldar. Goldar looks directly at me. I'm not entirely sure if he sees me or if it's just blind luck.
And?
Goldar replies. I come out from the shadows, revealing myself. His eyes lock onto me like a bull ready to charge. Easy now. I'm not looking for a fight. Goldar raises a brow to the statement.
And what if I am? That is, looking for a fight?
He says with a sinister grin. I step closer to him. Then, let me help you. The orc glares at me, not trusting any of my words.
I assume you heard my conversation.
I did, I reply.
Then why do you think I would ever trust someone like you?
Goldar says while lowering his weapons and taking a step forward. As we close the gap between us, I examine him carefully. I make note of his weapons and their lengths. I pay close attention to his armor and his weak points. I try to estimate his size and calculate his stride to know just how long it'll take for him to close the gap. 40 feet. That's as close as I can get. Stopping, I give him a smile. I'll be honest with you. You can't. Goldar stops as well, sensing that if either of us move any closer, it could lead to conflict. He lifts his axe at me and licks his lips.
Then why are you here?
I toss a large stack of coins on the ground in front of him. You can't trust me, but you can trust money. The orc looks down at the sack and then looks back up at me in suspicion. You see, I agree with you for the most part. A kingdom will not fall as long as its major criminal groups remain intact. But you see, I don't work for the shadows of the kingdom. I work for the shadows of the world.
Really?
Goldar replies with a quizzical look. What you think you know and what is real are two different things. I exist beyond the veil. I serve those that rule with strings and melodies. We control more than kingdoms. We control entire regions. Goldar rolls his eyes in annoyance.
You talk too much.
A subtle light flashes from Goldar's eyes, and within an instant, my body becomes frozen. Terror shoots down my spine, and goosebumps burst throughout my arms. I can't move. My heart races from the sheer panic, and a reality soon emerges from the hidden places of my mind. I'm going to die here. In this very moment, I will die. Walking forward, the orc grinds his blades together in satisfaction. The look on his face overwhelms me. I've seen demons before, and yet, he's far worse. My face grows paler with each step. Fight it! Fight it! Come on! Move, damn it! Move! No matter how much I argue against my own flesh, my will just isn't strong enough. I'm frozen in space. It's almost as if my body recognizes something that I don't. I'm reminded of a story from my childhood about the old man and the donkey. High up in the northern Fragalta Mountains, an old miner went looking for gold. Those mountains have held many legends over the years. Countless stories of artifacts and forgotten heroes run rampant throughout the damp caverns of those mysterious Alps. Any adventurer worth his salt would eventually find himself taking a stab at those peaks. The old man spent weeks searching, picking and digging. He found plenty of good ore to sell, but it was never the gold he sought. After nearly a month of solitude, he decided it was time to move on. He packed his gear up, threw his ore into his sled, and made his way back to Delore. On his return trip, he was met with very few issues. Although his path was packed with snow, it was for the most part clear. For some reason, though, just as they reached their final peak, his donkey stopped. The old man first examined the area, looking for any signs of danger. Everything looked normal, and he didn't find any signs of wildlife. He was at a complete loss as to why his donkey refused to move. Frustration filled the old man. He tried pulling the donkey, but to no success. He then started kicking it, slapping it, and cursing up a storm. The donkey would not budge. That's when the old man decided it would be best to show his donkey that the trail was safe. He began walking backward, motioning for his friend to follow. The donkey still wouldn't move. Out of pure rage, the old man stomped his foot and pointed at his friend to curse him. His words were cut off, though. As soon as his boot went through the snow, half the trail slid off the side of the mountain. The snow took him with it. Eventually, the donkey was found by dwarves, and the story was passed on. That's where we get the saying, he might be an ass, but he's no liar. Right now, my body feels like the donkey, and my mind feels like the old man. What does my body know that I don't? He's getting closer. 30, 20, 10. Goldar raises his hand axe above his head and lets out a subtle laugh.
It's been entertaining,
He says. 5. He's right next to me. I'm going to die, and I can't even fight back. I look everywhere, frantically searching for a way out. Then, I see it. The light from the street lamp has cast a long shadow in front of him. It'll be close, but another foot or two. I might be able to. As soon as he comes within 3 feet, Goldar slams his axe down. He's immediately caught off guard by my body falling through the ground. Immediately after moving through his shadow, I find myself shooting out of a wall, landing headfirst into a pile of wood. I frantically move the debris off of me and stand to my feet, drawing 2 daggers. Goldar looks at me in complete confusion. Fortunately, I can move again, and I made it behind him. Now I control the exit.
Magic?
Goldar says with a look of disdain. Yeah. You? I reply. Goldar raises a brow.
A type.
For what almost feels like an eternity, we stand there, sizing each other up. The tension builds, and the anticipation grips itself around my lungs. A bead of sweat creeps down my brow and drips to the ground. If I'm honest with myself, part of me wants to run. Part of me wants to leave this city and never look back. The more distance between me and this monster, the better.
Just take it.
Goldar asks. Yeah. Another moment passes. I can feel his bloodlust. I know part of him wants to challenge me even more now. He puts away his weapons and walks toward the money bag. Bending over, he grabs it and looks up at me.
No strings?
I put my daggers away. No. Do as you please. Goldar stands and places the sack of coins into a larger pouch on his belt.
Okay.
He replies. I shoot Goldar a satisfied nod. Good luck, I say while waving goodbye. I step into the shadow of the alley and vanish.